Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is ChaosMole and today I want to talk about too much influence, in humankind? Before we start into this whole topic, let me explain something really quick here. I know this is the closed beta. I have played the other playtests and I have seen that the developers is actively working on all the balance. Now, this is not a video to complain, but this is more like a feedback video for the developers and where I just want to discuss this whole problem, why I believe that influence is a resource which is just doing too much in this game. It does all the heavy lifting in areas where it doesn't need to and takes away from the importance of the other resources in the game. And to explain that to you, let me explain what influence is and what the other resources are doing first. So, influence is this little purple star you have in the top right corner, and you are just getting that per turn, and you are getting that through buildings and passives and other decisions. The same goes, of course, with the other resources like money. What do you do with money? Well, it's pretty simple. When you're clicking on a city, you can decide to, let's buy out this building. I want to buy out this lumberyard. I can just click on buy out and bam, it's done. I don't need the production, I just can buy it. The same goes, of course, with unit. So this is very much like civilization. I could just buy a unit. Then later on, I can also use the money to transform a camp into a city instead of influence. And of course, I can also use money to talk to city-states or, well, neutral civilizations to sway them on my side. So that's what money can do, right? This is about like 3 to 4 abilities money is bringing to the table. Then, of course, we have production, which, well, you probably already guessed it, is giving you the ability to produce a lot. And this is especially important for buildings you cannot buy out. Like, let's say, the stone ring I was building here right now. You notice, there's no buyout button. Yeah, because you cannot use the buyout. Like, you have to produce it. The same goes for World Wonders and some other stuff in the game. So that is what production is for. It's pretty simple. Then we have, of course, food. What is food doing? Well, food is making it so that your cities are growing faster and you have, of course, more population at your hand, which is then producing more industry, more money, science, food, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. The more food, the more people, the more hands you have to work for you. And this is also a little bit different to civilization. You need also food and, well, population in the end to produce units. As you can see here, if I want to produce this archer, it will cost me 1 population each. So the more food you have, the more population you can have, the bigger your armies can be. So food is very important in that matter. Then we have science, and well, science is pretty much straightforward. You need science for the research tree. The more science you have, the faster you can research, and the faster you can get new stuff. It's pretty straightforward, right? But there is a problem here. Like, all of the things I just mentioned are like 1 or 2 things you are getting out of it. Now, let's have a look at what actually influence can do for you. Let's see all the options there. First things first, you need influence to build camps. This one, like here, is a camp. You need influence to make this camp into a city, or attach this camp to another already existing city to make it basically a part of that city. Or you need also influence to immediately buy an extractor for the resource in this area when you don't have a city there yet. Yes, of course, when you have a city, you can also do this with production or money. But let's say you don't really want to have a city here, or you don't have the influence to build a city in this area. You can just use the influence to extract the resource directly. So influence is already key here. Then you have to use influence to use your special ability of your civilization you have. You can see it right here, the power investor. I've already used this, so I cannot use it again right now, but that's what you need it for. Then the next thing is, if you want to get World Wonders, you need influence. If you don't have enough influence, there are no World Wonders for you. You want to talk to other civilizations? You need influence. You want to talk to neutral civilizations or want to bribe them? You need influence. And the last thing you need influence for, and this is something they have added to the game with the latest beta patch, are your civics. So before this beta, you would always get a talent point every so often to use that into your civic tree. Now, the more influence you have, the faster you can fill out the civic tree, which gives you even more bonus points for your civilization. And then, of course, the more influence you have, the quicker your society is spreading over the continent, and that will also allow you to produce more influence. So it's like a snowball effect. And I think that's the biggest problem here with influence. It's like, it is too much. There are too many usages. And especially at the beginning when you want to grow your empire, which will be tougher later on because, well, the other empires are also growing and then you don't have the room for that. Influence is key because it will become more and more expensive to build more camps on the maps. So you need even more influence. Influence is this jail-free card right now in the game. And I think with the closed beta it got even worse because now it also affects like how many civics you can enact. And that will give you a huge boost. And I think they have to change that. Like, there are definitely a few things you could change immediately where you don't need influence, like the outposts. Make them bound maybe to money, or food, or production, like you can choose from immediately. Or the world wonders. Hey, you want to unlock a world wonder? Well, you don't need influence, but maybe you need production. Like, your main city needs like a lot of production to unlock the world wonders. I think there are ways to do this. But again, there's too much influence power. And what I'm doing right now a lot is that at the beginning, I choose civilizations which are focusing on influence and give you that extra influence edge. And then later on, when my empire is large enough, I can just switch to research, production, food, or whatever I need. Like right now, I'm playing the Nubians. And the Nubians are focusing on making money. Does that make really a lot of sense? Not really. Because it takes a lot to actually get to the point where you make a comfortable amount of money to actually speed up your production fast enough and to speed up the amount of units and buildings you can build. And then keep in mind, there are still a few things you cannot even do with money. So, the same thing with science. Would you want to focus on science immediately? Not necessarily, because everyone at the beginning is getting the same amount of science. And even if you would like unlock all those things super quickly, you cannot build them because you don't have the production, you don't have the money. Maybe you don't even have the regions to utilize that because your empire is not big enough because, well, you don't have the influence. Like, especially in the first 2 or 3 eras, influence feels like this. You cannot go wrong on influence. You can go wrong on everything else because there might not be the right thing in the right situation, and that's fine. But because influence and influence focuses exist, you're ending up on this thinking of, well, why should I take the gamble with money? Why should I take the gamble with production in the first 2 or 3 eras of this game? When influence always seems to be the jail-free card, right? So I hope they are finding a solution to this. And I don't think that the other ones needs a buff. I just really believe that influence needs to be a little bit more narrowed down on where you can use influence. I'm not saying remove influence or nerf it to the ground. No, influence has its place, like all the other resources. But you have already seen with the list I just gave you, I think there are just too many moments where you can use influence in comparison to the other resources. And at the very least, I hope they are removing influence from your civics again and move back to this whole idea of you get a talent point. Or maybe like, you can use civics more than just through influence by deciding to say, hey, I want to buy a civic not through influence, but a lot of food, a lot of production, or something like that. I hope we can find a solution here. With that said, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then I would appreciate that you maybe consider on your way out to click on the like button. If you didn't like this video, well, the dislike button is right next to it. And if you're also new to the channel, you want to see more Humankind video, tips and tricks videos, videos just of me reacting to all the craziness which is happening in the video game world, I would maybe appreciate if you consider to subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you so much for watching. Hope I see you next time. Stay safe. Bye bye.